We're on the phone today with Lisa S. Johnson. She is the author of the new book, Immortal Axes, Guitars That Rock. Hey, Lisa, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great as well, and thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it very much.
All right, well, let's talk about the new book, Immortal Axes, Guitars That Rock. Can you tell the listeners a bit about it?
Yeah, it is a book encompassing the world's greatest guitars ever seen and showcasing the wear and tear details of the guitars, the backside of the guitars, things that you can't see up close unless you can get up close to it, and how they trick it out with stickers and, all kinds of personalization, and just looking at your favorite guitars that your players play your favorite music on. It's the intimate portraits of your favorite musicians' guitars.
Excellent. And the listeners might be familiar with your first book, 108 Rockstar Guitars. So what made you decide to kind of do another volume here and to come out with the Immortal Axes?
Yeah, well, there's just still so many more guitars to photograph. The first book had 108. This one has 157, and most of these were not covered in the first book. This one has Malcolm Young in it, David Gilmour, Joan Jett, Jimi Hendrix, Dave Grohl, Elvis Presley. It's got a really nice cross-section of different genres, from jazz, George Benson, and the guys from Tower of Power that have just recently passed away, Rocco Prestia and Bruce Conti, and there's country legends in it, Johnny Cash, Glenn Campbell, Merle Haggard. I mean, it's just, my love of music and photography combined, and sharing it with the world, along with some portraits of the artists as well, which differentiates the book from the first one. I have portraits in this book of John Mayall and Dave Davies, Billy Sheehan, and a bunch of guys. So it's different, and I tell stories about my experience in photographing the guitar, and then of course information about the guitar as well.
And you've got Peter Frampton and Susie Quattro writing the foreword and the afterword. That's definitely a pretty awesome stamp of approval there.
So amazing. I mean, I photographed Peter Frampton's signature Les Paul for the first book when the original guitar was still lost. And then when he found it, he was returned to him right when my first book launched, right before it launched. And so it was my mission to photograph the original Phoenix. So when I did, I was just so in awe of that guitar and realized that it was really the ultimate immortal axe. And so I asked Peter if he would write the foreword for me, and I'm very happy that he did. And Susie Quattro, I was telling her that story the day that I photographed her bass, and I said, Peter's writing the foreword for the book. And she said, oh, that's so cool. When I was just starting out and recording my first album, I was in England, and we hired Peter to play as a session musician, to play on one of my songs. And I really wanted to have him in the band, and my manager said, no, you can't have Peter in the band because there can only be one star in the band. And they were both just starting out in their careers at that time, and her manager recognized Peter's talent. And so it was very interesting that she agreed to write the afterword for the book, and the two of them kind of started out together in the early days and worked together.
Well, and the photos in the book are beautiful. I wanted to ask you, Lisa, what's the secret to getting the right look, when you're photographing these guitars? Because obviously if you just went in there and took pictures, it could kind of look like a Guitar Center catalog instead of this book.
Well, it's my mission to not look like a Guitar Center catalog. I never wanted to photograph a guitar that looks like a mugshot, on the sterile white background. You can see that all the time in the catalogs. I want to capture the intimacy of the guitar that the player has with it. So you can see the wear and tear details. You can hone in on the scratches, the nicks, the what makes it their guitar, how they play. So they don't have to be in the portrait, because what they leave behind on the guitar portrays the artist by their sweat marks and how they personalize the guitar. So I just want people to get this feeling of the guitar and the experience of the guitar that the player actually has with it, their relationship with the guitar.
Excellent. Again, Lisa S. Johnson's with us. We're talking about her new book, Immortal Axes, Guitars That Rock. And you mentioned all the different styles and different players in the book, and I love that you've went through so many different genres, and especially the fact that you've got some bass players in there too. I love stumbling upon Geezer Butler when I was looking through. That's great that you got the bass players in there.
Absolutely, and Chris Squire is in there from Yes, and Billy Sheehan. There's quite a few basses in there, and of course, they're an integral part of the band. So, I decided that in this book I needed to capture some of the basses if I had the opportunity to. So it was really nice to get Cliff Burton's bass, which was a real prize. I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame photographing the David Gilmour Black Strat and Rory Gallagher Strat, and they happened to have Cliff's bass there. And they had acquired it, so they allowed me to photograph it, and it was cool because I already had all the Metallica guys. Robert Chirio's bass that's hand-painted by his wife, Chloe Chirio, very interesting Nash basses, and of course Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield's Flying V's are in there from the Kill 'Em All album. And then we have Mike Starr's bass in there from Alice in Chains. So, yeah, it's Rick Danko's in there from the band, and, of course, Paul McCartney's 1963 Hofner bass is featured. And, like you said about personalizing the guitars, John Lennon's J160E is in there from the bed-ins, and he hand-etched in the portrait of him and Yoko twice and wrote the dates, one in Amsterdam and one in Montreal. So it's very cool for fans to be able to see those drawings on those guitars up close and personal.
Definitely. And it's great that all this is compiled in the book. It kind of seems like the idea of the guitar god, maybe a thing of the past, kind of fallen by the wayside. So I don't think there's a lot of these kind of guitars maybe to do another book 50 years down the road.
There might be a third book in me yet. There's still some holdouts, Angus Young, Mark Knopfler. These are guys, Pat Metheny. There's still so many incredible players out there. Eddie Van Halen, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's really hard. It's a long, arduous process to get access to the guitars. And so there's still some great players out there whose guitars I don't have, and some that have passed away as well. So, I'm still on a mission. I'm not giving up.
Excellent. Well, I know the book is just out, Lisa, but is there anything else maybe you're working on or something else we should look out for?
Right now, this is it. I'm just enjoying this process of the completion aspect and trying to get some rest. I've been on the go for a long time, and it's just really nice to be able to chat with you and be able to share the book with the world now and see what happens next, see what comes along. I'm in the flow. We'll see what happens. Actually, someone reached out to me, and they unearthed an old Freddie King ES-355 under a bed. So I'm going to be going to photograph that one pretty soon.
Awesome. Yeah, you never know where these guitars might be hanging out. That's great, though. And again, the book looks great. And Lisa, I hope we can speak again sometime, maybe when book 3 comes out.
Anytime, yeah. And feel free to check out my website. It's immortalaxes.com, and there's a button you can click there that'll take you straight to Amazon where you can get the best price on the book. And it's a great gift for the holiday seasons coming up.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Lisa. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And again, that was Lisa S. Johnson, and her new book, Immortal Axes, Guitars That Rock, is available now.